1991 was the year when Silence of the Lambs swept at the Oscars. It's one of only 3 movies that won the big 5 categories, that is, actor, actress, writing, director, and best picture. Another sweep happened at the Grammys when Natalie Cole took home statues for Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Song of the Year. And speaking of unforgettable art, Cheers won its 4th Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series. But what about the Video Game Awards? If you've ever wanted to know what old school games took home the top prizes, then you've definitely come to the right place. Today we're going to recreate Electronic Emmy Monthly's Best and Worst of 1991 award show, featuring 31 different categories ranging from Hottest Game Babe to Best New Console to Best Music in a Game. So let's cue up the VCR and introduce you to the greatest televised award show to never be broadcast. Fade to black. Live on tape from the historic Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles, California, is Electronic Emmy Monthly's 4th annual Best and Worst Award Show, brought to you by REVLON, the reason the color red exists. And now, your host for the evening, some random guy. Hello and welcome to Electronic Emmy Monthly's 4th annual Best and Worst Award Show. My name is Cyril, and much like you, I have no idea why I'm still hosting this thing. I mean, you would think that EGM could afford a big name like, Pauly Shore or that guy from Saturday Night Live. No, not that one. No, try again. Wait, no, that's not even a guy. Yeah, there we go, Phil Hartman. He would have been a great host. Anyway, we have a great show in store for you. We have Clint Eastwood in the audience. And over there is Steven Spielberg for some reason. And is that Debbie Allen wearing a suit of armor? Girl, there's no need for that. The really violent games are still a couple of years off. Maybe I should be wearing that armor after the reaction to last year's ceremony. Alright, like I was saying, we have a great show ahead. 1991 was the year when companies like Sega, Nintendo, and NEC shook up the industry with new hardware, hot mascots, and creative ideas. And in the spirit of honoring those fresh ideas, our first award is for the most innovative new game, which will celebrate new concepts that we're bound to see for decades to come. And the winner is NEC's Sherlock Holmes, which introduced the world to full-motion video. This was once considered an impossibility, but somebody forgot to tell the wizards at ICOM because at 15 frames per second, Sherlock Holmes and his crew actually move on the screen. Wow! Now, developers know that challenge is important to a 1990s gamer. When you spend $50 on a new game, you want to make sure that you're not going to beat it in a single sitting. And that brings me to our next category, the most challenging video game of the year, which goes to Battletoads. No doubt about it, this is one of the hardest games on the market. With only a few short warps and no known level select, you're on your own with this game. Now, I think we can all agree that this was a year full of hot characters, but none of them were as hot as Sonic the Hedgehog, the winner of the Hottest Character in a Game award. Who would ever think that a porcupine could get an attitude and become a hotter character than the old Italian plumber, doctor, golfer, or whatever? Wait, a porcupine? Speaking of hot characters by Sega, the dominatrix woman in Streets of Rage picked up an award for Hottest Video Game Babe. And just to round things out, the winner for Video Game Babe Too Hot for the US goes to Final Fight, which saw Capcom remove some of the sexier women from the Super NES port. Shame on you, Capcom. Everybody loves a good game, babe. And guys, I'm 100% sure that we're never going to get to a point where we look back and think that all this talk about hot women and skimpy clothing will be considered sexist. Never going to happen. So last year, as you may remember, I was sued by a company that won the Most Lawsuits award. The good news is that matter has been taken care of and we're all friends again. Unfortunately, part of the settlement means that if this unnamed company wins the award again, I can't name them. In fact, there's a guy behind the scenes right now that's going to bleep the name anytime I say it. I know you think I'm joking, but I'm being serious. Check it out. See? We'll do it again. And the winner is... See, it's a perfect system. So all I can say is congratulations to the company that sued me last year for taking home the statue 2 years in a row. Good job. Now, as you know, 1991 was the year that brought us a little attitude in our gaming industry. Not to be outdone by Sonic, Electronic Gaming Monthly has decided to hand out a few, shall we say, snarky prizes. For example, the award for Best Slowdown without a special controller goes to Gradius 3 on the Super NES, because that hardware buckles under the pressure of a fast-paced 2D shoot-'em up. And then there's the Best Trick That Didn't Work, which is just another chance for EGM to talk about how they tricked gamers into thinking that Simon Belmont was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Speaking of things that probably confused the average gamer, it's now time to hand out my favorite new award, Most Names for a Game. This year there was no competition for the prize because Activision and Razorsoft made everybody's head turn when they went from Tongue of the Fat Man to Mondu's Fight Palace to Slaughter Sport. As Sushi X likes to say, a rose by any other name is still a rose. From Ninja Gaiden to Mario to Sonic the Hedgehog, I don't think anybody's going to disagree that 1991 was a great year for games. It also had a few clunkers, which is what we're going to get into right now with our next set of dubious prizes. In the category for worst use of a good license, the only real option is Fantasia on the Genesis, which turned one of Disney's best movies into one of Sega's worst platformers. Speaking of bad, have you played RoboCop 2? The first game was solid enough, but the follow-up earns its place as the worst sequel of the year. And while we're on the topic of bad movie games, Home Alone on the Game Boy was the winner for worst movie to game. Not that the NES version was any better. So, you actually want to play some good sequels in movie games? Then let me introduce you to the Terminator on the Genesis, the winner of the Best Movie to Game award. And that wasn't the only movie character to earn top honors this year, as the award for Best License of the Year goes to the very worthy Batman. Now, the prize for sequel to an existing game gives Capcom another win with Super Ghouls and Ghosts. This is the franchise's first prize since winning Game of the Year as well as Best Sequel for the non-Super Ghouls and Ghosts just 2 years ago. And that brings us to the best ending in a video game category, which is something that Super Ghouls and Ghosts wouldn't know anything about. I laugh, but how many of you actually beat the game twice? I'm looking at you, Tommy Lee Jones. When it comes to the best ending in 1991, I'm proud to announce that Phantasy Star 3 comes out on top. The EGM editors were won over by the non-linear story and the different endings. The even bigger surprise is that Phantasy Star beat out the reigning champ Ninja Gaiden, who's been completely shut out this year. I think my favorite thing about 1991 was how much better everything looks and sounds, even compared to where we were just a year ago. The launch of the Super NES, CD-ROM technology, and developers finally getting the most out of the 16-bit powerhouses has led to games that rival the arcades. In the category of Best Graphics in a Video Game, the editors at EGM agreed that Sonic the Hedgehog could not be topped. The cartoony world comes to life thanks to great multidimensional scrolling backgrounds, speedy character animations, and unbelievably smooth software-generated screen rotation that helps make this a treat to both watch and play. Over on the audio side, we find that the East series has once again dominated the Best Music in a Video Game category with the third book, subtitled Wanderers from East. There's just no comparison between the CD audio and a cart. The Best Sound Effects in a Video Game category, on the other hand, is a bit more competitive. The not-so-surprising winner is none other than ToeJam and Earl, who hip-hopped their way into our hearts with a truly incredible 16-bit adventure. You know what else is incredible? This year's winner for Best RPG Video Game. We already know that East Book 3 took home Best Music, and the critics loved Phantasy Star 3's ending. So did one of them take home the top prize? No. Believe it or not, Final Fantasy II came out of nowhere to secure the win, making this the first award the popular sequel has won tonight. And while we're talking about games that have yet to take home a single statue tonight, I want to announce that NHL Hockey has won the always popular Best Sports Game category. This is apparently a hotly contested battle between 3 different sports games by Electronic Arts, but the one that had nothing to do with John Madden ended up coming out ahead. And you know where you can play all of this year's best sports games? That's right, it's the Sega Genesis, which is 1991's best video game system. This is now the 3rd straight win for Sega's 16-bitter, and a deserved win. The Genesis really came into its own this year, with Sonic and Phantasy Star, Streets of Rage, and even ToeJam and Earl. Even with the Super NES taking up most of the headlines, Sega somehow managed to get everybody talking about the Genesis in 1991. And speaking of the Super NES, the brand new console managed to win the Best New System That's a Year Late category, because that EGM crew is all about throwing shade. And also, just in case you're wondering, the Game Action Replay unseated the Game Genie as the best new peripheral of the year. The most amazing part of this win? Apparently Acepore managed to release a cheat device that didn't result in a bunch of lawsuits from Galoob might want to take a few notes.
If you like Rice Krispies, try new Triples. We think you'll do a triple take. Triples is crisp like Rice Krispies and tastes so good you might just do a triple take. Triples has Rice Crisps plus hearty wheat crisps and golden corn crisps for a taste so surprising that one spoonful could have you doing a triple take. Like Rice Krispies? Taste new Triples from General Mills. We think you'll do a triple take.
Airedale air freshener gets rid of the toughest odors. I use it here, here, even here.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
Welcome back to Electronic Emmy Monthly's Best and Worst Awards of 1991. It's the moment we've all been waiting for, because it's finally time to announce the best games of the year, starting with the console-specific prizes and then heading right into the overall game of the year. If you're looking for a great game released in 1991, then you can't go wrong with any of these titles. Let's start with the portable game of the year, which goes to Castlevania II: Belmont's Revenge on the Game Boy. While on the subject of 8-bitters, Battletoads wins for Entertainment System of the Year. Alright, we're still bleeping out that word, huh? And I guess now you know who won most lawsuits. Oh no, this is bad. They can't get me for this, right? Okay, let's move on. Over on the Sega side, Sonic the Hedgehog managed to take home the prize for Master System of the Year. That was a close one. I bet they don't even notice. So, over on the 16-bit platforms, it was a battle for the top mascot game. As a result, we see Bonk's Adventure win the TurboGrafx-16 Game of the Year category. And the Super NES Game of the Year prize goes to the pack-in game, Super Mario World. And that just about leaves the Genesis Game of the Year, which just so happens to be Electronic Gaming Monthly's official video game of the year. I'm of course talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, the speedy little hero that took everybody by surprise. The popular comparison may be Mario 4 on the Super NES versus Sonic on the Genesis. When it comes right down to it, Sonic is the clear winner. His speed is unequaled, the graphics are excellent, and the quest is challenging. This was a big year for both Sega and Sonic, and both of them are going to have a bright future ahead of them. And that brings us to the end of yet another award show. 1991 was the biggest and most diverse year yet, and I think that's reflected in tonight's winners. From mascot platformers to beat-em-ups to must-play movie games. This year had something for everybody. Best of all, it introduced the world to full-motion video, an innovation that's bound to be here forever. And guess what? Next year promises to be even better! We'll have new technology, better-looking 16-bit games, and even more crazy awards. Nobody knows what 1992 will bring, so I want to see your shiny, happy faces here next year. My name is Cyril, and this has been the Best and Worst Awards Show. See you next time, and keep playing. Hey, thanks for watching Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Award Show. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we're going to post new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday right up to the end of the year. That's 8 more episodes by my count. So here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite game of 1991? Between the Super NES launch and the Genesis really hitting its stride, there are a lot of great games to choose from. I can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments below. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on reviews of Battle Princess Madeline and The Council. So I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.